Hi, everyone. I'm June Rawl. Facilitating today's webinar is Ron Cruz. Today, the title of our webinar today is Understanding and Applying the TABE 11 and 12 Overlay to the ABE Math Curriculum Matrix. Now that all of you are implementing the new TABE 11 and 12, are you looking for tools for instruction? How about all those TABE domains we need to learn, those NRS levels, the TABE blueprints, the standards, the CCR levels, the emphasis levels? Wow, I could go on and on. But today I hope we can provide some relief to you as we have developed a tool to centralize and combine all these skills into one. It's the TABE 11 and 12 ABE Math Overlay. It's an add-on to the ABE Math Curriculum Matrix that you've all grown to love. Today, Ron is going to explain the concept of this overlay and the features and the application behind this newly developed piece of research. You will be the first in the state to be able to download this electronic format and be able to use it in your classroom instruction. But before we get started, I'm just going to give a few housekeeping rules, and most of you already know all these, but you know that your microphones are muted and you will be in listen-only mode. Today's presentation is recorded like all of IPDA's webinars, and you can get those webinars within like 48. You can go and view this recorded session within 48 hours. I really would like to hear from all of you today as Ron presents this overlay. So please put your questions into that Q&A section on your screen. You see the arrow going in there? Place it in the Q&A, not the chat. And Ron and I will be, looking through these questions and commenting throughout the webinar. Well, I'm not going to say anything more because I know that Ron is really excited to present this information to you as I am. So thank you again for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Ron.
Thank you, June. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a while since we've had a webinar that I facilitated, so I'm very, very excited to share with you what we have in store for you today. As you may know, we've rolled out last year the ABE Mathematics Curriculum Matrix. And I have heard so many great stories of applications and use and utility of that particular instructional resource in planning, recruiting students, in pacing, and all of that wonderful stuff that really is empowering you teachers to do what you do best in your classroom, which is teach. So now we are unveiling an add-on to that. We're putting out a new overlay to the matrix that we have created and we've all been raving about. What we've created for you is something that you can use side by side as you implement and target those TABE standards, those TABE competencies, those TABE objectives, following along that TABE blueprint that the TABE released. So in today's agenda, here's are the things that we're going to cover. So first of all, for everyone that's new to the matrix and that is new to TABE, and also going through, we're going to try to talk about some challenges with the rollout of the new TABE 11 and 12. After that, we're just going to briefly discuss what's out there already, besides what we're rolling out today. And then I'm going to go over the actual TABE 11 and 12 overlay. So as I do that, I'm going to go over certain features that you need to be looking at, how to understand it, how the colors are assigned, and how you're going to look at the emphasis level. So we're going to go over all of that. And then after that, I'm going to share with you some of the applications. What can you do with this powerful tool? And then towards the end, I'm going to show you how to download and save your own electronic copy of the overlay. I'm also going to give you some tips and tricks on how to print it on large paper and also print it on vellum sheets, which will allow you to kind of like overlay the TABE overlay on your existing ABE mathematics curriculum matrix. And then I'm going to share you what's coming down the pike, because we're going to continue to build upon this matrix. We're going to continue to add more resources and make this more useful to you as educators. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So let's talk about some of the challenges with TABE 11 and 12 that you may already have been experiencing now. Some of you have already started implementing TABE 11 and 12 back in December. Some of you are just starting to fully implement TABE 11 and 12 just this month, January 2019. Some of you have started way back in June or July of 2018. So we're all at different implementation stages. But what's common between people that have implemented it in the past or earlier than the ones that are just implementing it now are the challenges. Okay, so let's talk about some of those challenges that you have. First of all is classroom instruction. So now that you have a higher level of complexity, higher level of objectives to target, and then on top of that, you have more objectives to cover, classroom instruction becomes a problem. In addition to that, there are certain requirements, state requirements, your district level requirements for TABE testing. Now, also another thing that our students will have to cope with are the changes in the format and the content of the test. So they need to see that, okay, students that are used to taking it on pencil and paper will now have to get used to the computer-based, if your school district or your college is transitioning to computer-based testing. So the format will be different and the content is definitely going to be different. It also poses a question on your curriculum. It's like, okay, you can no longer continue using your old curriculum that aligned with TABE 9 and 10. You now have to overhaul your curriculum to match the assessment targets that we are setting across the levels of ABE. On top of that, with new tests, new content, new curriculum, you have to look for new tools now that match these challenges. Of course, you can't throw away everything that you already have. Of course, some of them may be tweaked. Some of them may still be applicable, especially those basic math skills and concepts that will continue to roll over. Because there's any significant advancement in math. Math is math. Nothing has changed. Maybe the way we solve a problem, or there may be a different approach to solve a particular problem, or maybe a new method, more visual, more Common Core-ish style of solution has been developed. But overall, what we're trying to accomplish, the process, the content itself has not changed. And a lot of you may also still be looking at that interpretation of the scores, so I'm just going to plug in that we are going to have an e-training soon, and June may be talking about it towards the end, about a teacher e-training that will be housed in the ABE website, an e-training on interpreting scores. In addition to that, other resources that are out there, because am I going to change my textbook? What are the good textbooks out there to use? Things like that. And then, of course, the most important is your planning and pacing, because this really sets the tone as to what's going to happen and what you're going to accomplish for the school year. So all of these things are probably or most likely floating at the back of your minds. And on top of that, the show must go on. You have to teach because your students are going to be there. The show must go on, as we may say. So let's go ahead and start kind of like mystifying all of this and start talking about what is out there. So as you already know, we use, the main basis for the TABE 11 and 12 is for that assessment to align with the college and career readiness standards. The college's career readiness standard is not new, but of course with the approval process with state procedures and guidelines, it took a while before the assessment aligned with this curriculum. But this college and career readiness standard is our Bible. This is where we take everything and anything that we have to teach to our ABE students. So that's what's out there, and it's been out there for a while. We've had several face-to-face trainings. If you're a new educator in adult education, you want to brush up on the college and career readiness standards, we have a long-standing e-training that we have on the ABE website. So later on, I can kind of walk you through it and show you how to access these amazing e-training that we've created and developed for all new educators that are just jumping into adult education and just learning about the curriculum and the instruction that's required for adult students. Another thing that's out there is the curriculum frameworks. The ABE Mathematics Curriculum Frameworks has been out there, released by the department. And of course, they update it year after year, so there's always a new version or a slightly tweaked version up on the DOE website. But the curriculum frameworks is, I think it's a 31-page document. I lost track on how many pages there is, but the curriculum frameworks is what it is based on its name. It's just a framework. It has all of the necessary components for you to develop your own curriculum, okay? It is not a curriculum on its own. So you still have to take it and then add the missing components and maybe tweak and then make it and adjust the way it fits. So really the curriculum frameworks has a very, slightly limited capacity in terms of classroom instruction because it's very broad. It just itemizes every objective at every domain in mathematics and what you have to cover at each level. And on top of that, it's a document that you have to keep flipping through, especially if you teach multi-level classes. So at some point in time, your curriculum frameworks will be, it becomes cumbersome to continually use the curriculum frameworks. So that's why we developed a kind of like handy tool where you can just look at a single spread, a single page, not worrying about flipping through and then see the big picture. And that's why we created the ABE Math Curriculum Matrix. And this is what it is. So in one spread, you see all of the objectives that you have to teach. You have them organized neatly into mathematics domains. You also have them organized neatly into clusters according to levels of NRS or based on the ABE level of your student. So it's easy. It's easy to look at, it's easy to track, and there's many different uses. So if you want to learn more about, and if it's your first time just learning about the matrix, what I really do suggest is you go back to the archived ABE webinars and view through the two webinars, the 2-hour webinar that I conducted. I think it's last year or early last year or late 2017, I can't remember now, but those two talks about the matrix in general, how it was created, what are the applications out there. But right now, the purpose of this webinar is really to talk about the overlay to this matrix. So just for those of you that are new to the matrix, just so you know, this is the brainchild of this, and this is kind of like the core document that we're building upon, and you will only see some slight modifications here and there as we develop more overlays. And as I mentioned earlier, we have that TABE assessment blueprints that itemizes all of the objectives that are tested. And what's the beauty of this TABE assessment blueprints is it organizes the objectives or the competencies according to domains. And then they added an extra level of detail there. They added the column for identifying what college and career readiness standards are there, and then also, or what they align to. And then there's also the emphasis level, which is really what I'm going to try to emphasize. So I'm going to emphasize the emphasis level. Pardon the repetition of that, because I cannot emphasize this even more, that we need to pay attention to this because it's such a large blueprint. There are so many objectives to cover. And you know, as teachers, we need to get the biggest bang for the buck, right? So the biggest bangs for the buck are, of course, in order to get more performance on this test, you need to target the ones that are medium to high level of emphasis. But let me give you a little bit of a caveat over there. Most of the low-level emphasis skills, low-level emphasis objectives in the blueprint are actually foundational skills for the medium and the high-level emphasis. So I don't want you to kind of just shove the low-level emphasis under the rug and pretend that they did not exist. Mathematics is very foundational. They build upon small skills and basic skills or foundational skills. So therefore, you still have to spend time, if not more time, on the foundational skills, which are itemized under the low-level emphasis on your blueprints. And so it's really up to you as an educator, and it's different for different classes. So you may have 3 ABE classes, and at one class, you're finding yourself, hey, I need to hit more of the foundational skills first, lots of review. And then you might find out that your second class is slightly different. They're a little bit ahead, and they have a little bit more mastery of other contents that are there. So therefore, you're now getting ready to gear them off towards the medium to high level emphasis. So that's really something, something to think about out there. So I'm not really suggesting that you disregard the low level skills. They are really still very important. However, the high level skills are the ones that are is going to be occurring the most on the test. Okay, so really kind of like I think of it as kind of like my end goal every time. So that's where I wanted to be. So another thing that's out there are several of our vendors, publishers, and software developers have released a lot of TABE materials or TABE resources. It could be realigning their previous series to the new TABE and showing where you're probably going to go through the book at a different order now than it is in the past or whatnot, or they may have released a supplementary sheets, or they call it college and career readiness sheets, that to add on to your existing textbook series. Some have completely revamped their series and released a new set of series that really align to the TABE 11 and 12. No matter what it is, you need to know what's out there. So start picking up the phone, sending out emails to your local representatives or where you order your textbooks, and ask them about these correlations. Is there a curriculum guide that's been developed? Is there a pacing guide? Is there a crosswalk between the old series to the new TABE 11 and 12? Or are there any new material or new resources that are out there, such as a Score Boost or TABE Tutor, that really are going to align to the new TABE standards? So just putting it out there that there are several, and these are not all of them. This is not exhaustive. What you see on your screen, we try to put as many as we can without sacrificing what, your eyes, without hurting your eyes. But there's more than these. So there are several other publishers that are out there, but this is just what we can slide in here readily available for us. So, but just so you know, there are many, 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 many more resources, correlations, and alignments out there.
And
So,
Ron, will you just look at the Q&A in the chat, because there's some questions coming in, and if you could address them, that would be great.
okay, I think that's a good idea. Actually, I don't see anything on the Q&A. I don't have anything answered, or I don't have anything open. So
Okay, let me read it to you. So there's a question about where might we get copies of the curriculum, the current matrix?
okay, so that's a really, really good question. So the original the core document, which is the ABE Mathematics Curriculum Matrix, is housed in the IPDE website under ABE webinars. Okay, so I'm gonna show you where to find that as I go out and show you. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and show you. So let's do that. So I'm gonna flip the screen and go to the IPDE website. If you're and I don't want you to do this with me, but I just want you to look first where I'm going, so you know exactly where to find that original document, okay? So so go into the ABE channel, and under ABE channel, you hover over and you click on webinars. And then under webinars, archives all of the webinars that we've done. And as you can see, over here, towards the middle of the page, you're going to see these two, the ABE Math Curriculum Framework Part 1, and then the ABE Math Curriculum Framework Part 2. These two webinars are where you're going to find the original document, or the original version, no overlays, no nothing, on this. So if you click on one of them, I'll click on one. On the handouts, you're going to click on right here where you see Handout ABE Math Curriculum Matrix. You click on that, and it's going to download the PDF or open the PDF on your screen. Then when it opens up, then you can save it into your desktop or your computer or wherever, to your portable drive or whatnot. So that's how you can get the matrix, the original matrix that I shown earlier, not the TABE overlays, but the matrix. So hopefully I answered that question. I feel like my Q&A is not connecting for some reason. So I'm not.
Ron, I can read it out to you. Another comment that's coming through that I wanted to share is that some of our people on the call today are serving in the correction settings, and they can't print this 11 by 17 paper in color. So they just took it to Office Depot, Staples, had it printed and laminated for approximately $4.
Oh, wow.
That's great that they're using it and that they're able to find another area that they can get it.
And that's
Now,
really
Ron,
good.
Also, how about this question? There's a question coming in asking, it would help if the TABE 11 and 12 gave us a breakdown of what skills and objectives the students need to work on. Is there a way to get a more detailed breakout than the individual profile reports that are being printed?
Okay, so we've got an answer from DRC on this, who developed the assessment. They really cannot provide any more specificity on the objective. And, you know, because they feel like if they put more information, that's really putting out there the actual test question. Might as well give out the test questions, pretty much. That's the answer that we've got, and I kind of rephrase it. That's kind of like the main essence of their response when we raise this thing. But, however, the TABE score, the personal score reports, now I don't know if it already has taken effect, but they're planning on customizing the score report to only show the objectives that are partially mastered or not mastered, so that the teacher can focus on those objectives. But again, those domains are still very broadly stated. and I understand the frustration here. The teacher may want, I want more specific. So when you say reduce to least common denominator, what type of questions would require, or what type of format would that be asked? Would that be filling in the section or the fraction with the missing denominator? Would it be applied on an actual multiplication or addition problem? It could be, there's still a lot up in the air there. They're not releasing, there are sample questions that have been released, but again, they're randomly scattered across the blueprint. They are not issuing a sample question or a sample, about more specifics other than what you get on the TABE blueprint. Hopefully that answers that question, June.
Okay, thank you. And you'll like this one too. They're stating that they want a correlation to the GED standards and objectives, like what you're talking about here.
Oh my God, you are gonna love it, because that is currently in development right now. Hopefully, and don't hold your breath for this, because really it's still in development. We are making great progress, but the state has already funded the development of this, and it's already in process. Our goal is before the end of this school year to roll this out. So please watch out. Stay tuned. Continually go to the IPDAY website for updates. Look at your electronic direct mail, or that email that you usually get from IPDAY, because that's where you're gonna get that first hit that, hey, this is active, it's live, you can download it. We are creating the GED Matrix. Okay, and what we're doing with that GED Matrix is we're creating it and reorganizing the GED Matrix to kind of smoothly transition you from this ABE Matrix to that. So they should look very similar. They should be organized very similar, and it's gonna be big when we roll it out, June. So we're just stay tuned for that. I can't tease you enough on that, but we're still in development, and we're making great progress on that. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, we get excited about that. There is a question about some resources here, and I just want to say that we're not the expert on these resources. So yes, there is one about the TABE Achieving Success books, if they would be produced as a resource for 11 and 12. I would just say at this point for you to contact your representative for that to get their feedback. We're just giving you some publishers' resources that have been have correlations and alignments that have been done.
Right. Thank you very much. So again, just like I said, for all of those, and I'm going to circle back to that corrections question, why they said they had to go to Office Depot or FedEx Kinko's to have it printed on large paper in color and laminate. What's the purpose? Why do we want to do that? Again, the longevity of this document. A lot of people, especially at the correction, they don't have access to the internet all the time. They don't always have computers. They have to, resort to low tech. But really, that low tech method is really a good method, because if you use like a vis-a-vis or a wet erase marker, you can always mark through and continually use the same laminated sheet of the TABE of the ABE matrix. Okay, so that's really a very, very useful way to do that. And for $4, that could be the best $4 investment in your instructional, for your classroom instruction that you could ever invest on. So thank you for sharing that for all of from the corrections, and keep them coming, all of these suggestions that you use, because we know not every ABE, not every adult education classroom is the same, and we need to share this with other teachers, especially from the smaller counties or counties that do not have the same level of resources as the larger counties. So thank you very much for sharing that. So I'm going to go ahead and go on. Another thing that's out there is the online tools training. So if you have not been to the online tools training, and or actually, if you have not taken your students to the online tools training, I really highly suggest you do. A lot of the districts are using or actually orienting the students in the use of the online tools through this portal, so that even prior to pre-testing, so during the orientation stage, they're logging them in, showing them all of these online tools, especially for math, because there's a lot of tools. There's a cross out, there's a highlighter, there's a protractor, there's a ruler, there's a sticky note, there is color contrast. There's a lot of things that you can use to help you and to make students feel a little bit more comfortable with taking the test. I provided you with the website underneath. So use that web link, go to that website, take your students there. Even do some lessons, because the sample questions are already loaded into the online tools training. So no need for you to print several copies of the sample questions. You can just directly send your students to this link, go in and start talking about each of these word problems to your students, and also showing them the tools as you go along. So every tool should be active there, including the calculator. So which is very, very tricky at some point in time, because there's a different calculator for level M, and there's a different calculator for levels A and D. So look at that and get your students familiarized with that tool, so that when they actually take either the pre-test or the post-test, that they know every tool at their disposal to help them with achieving on the TABE 11 and 12.
Those serving in the correction facility, Ron, is there an online training? They don't have access to this in the correction.
No.
Are there
and anyway,
an offline version or a printable resource for students without internet access?
So, no, there is a printable version. So you have the release test items, or the sample TABE items from the TABE website. You can download that and print that. Now, most of our corrections folks are probably going to take it on paper and pencil, or pen and paper. So then they will not have, they will have the physical protractor, they will have the physical ruler, they will have, they will not be provided sticky notes. However, they will have those flimsy type scrap where they can write on, the dry erase little bit of a board to do their computations and things like that. They will not be given magnifying glasses. However, you can order the test in different magnifications. So there are different, so really, if you are in a particular situation, such as the correctional facility, what we need you to do is to contact your DRC, local DRC representative, and ask these questions to them. That, okay, here are my students. They are not going to take it on the computer, or yes, they are going to take it in the computer, but did you release any resources out there that would substitute for the cross out, for the highlighter, for the marking? What do you suggest? DRC would be the best place to ask that question, and then we're going to go and meet with them as well as we go through several of these conferences throughout the year. And I will post that question. I'll probably have a better answer with you when we roll out the next overlay. So I'm going to put a pin on that question. I'm not going to answer it fully, but just so you know, I don't want to say anything out there that I don't want to lie to you guys. So I really want to just tell you what I honestly know and the extent of what I know of what's out there. So,
so Ron, we're going to hold those questions that are coming in like that, and I know who wrote those questions, and I'm going to redirect them to the Florida Department of Education, who will then answer them directly with the with their responses. Okay.
Yeah, and I think, June, that is a great, great idea. Okay, perfect. So I know a lot of you can't wait. What is this TABE overlay that you are talking about? I want to see it. So really, I'm going to, since we have a lot of interaction and a lot of questions, we're going to go ahead and skip the reflection portion, because I just thought, let's talk about and share what you've done already with the resources out there. And if there's other resources that you have done or you found that we have not mentioned in this webinar, feel free to put it in the chat box. And what we're going to do is we're going to collate all of these new resources that you're sharing with us, and we'll share it back to you through an email. So, so there will be a follow-up email after this webinar. So just in case we have lingering questions that we have not responded to, and just like what June mentioned, but we want to give you as much information from this webinar as much as we can. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. So right here is really the opening screen for the TABE overlay. Let me just explain what an overlay is. It's like, it's like something you put on top of something to make it, to have a different perspective, to make it look different. It serves many, many different purposes. As you can see with the animation right now, you start off with a blank, with a blank sheet, and then you cover it up with something on top, and you're still keeping the original, the baseline qualities, but you're adding a different flair, a different color, a different perspective when looking into the matrix. So let me introduce to you the TABE overlay. So this is what your TABE overlay is going to look like. It's going to look, the background is going to be white. So if you download that in your resources page, yours is going to slightly look different in terms of background, but in the look, it's going to look pretty much the same. So what you can see is like, oh, wait a minute, this looks very similar to the original matrix that you created, Ron. Yes, it is based off of the original curriculum matrix. But what we did was we color-coded them, and what we did was to differentiate the emphasis level of each cell. And what we also did is we colored sections that are covered by the blueprints. So because when we created the matrix was not based off of the TABE blueprint. We based the curriculum matrix off of the college and career readiness standards and the Florida curriculum frameworks. That's where we created the matrix from. We did not create the matrix from the blueprint. The blueprint came after the fact, when the assessment has been developed or when DRC has released it. So really the blueprint is coming in at the tail end of this process. So what we did is we have some existing material that we already are working with based off of the same core material they're derived from, which is a college and career readiness, and then we aligned it. So so let me explain what you're looking at. So I'm gonna break this down for you so you know exactly what you're looking at. So first of all, you've got the blueprints, right? So you've got different blueprints for every level. So people might think it's like a lot of, some of the teachers that come to me, they ask me, it's like, okay, there's just that one blueprint, right? Like, no, there's multiple blueprints. And what you're seeing here is not all of it. There are 4 blueprints for math. Actually, there's 5 because there's a level L blueprint. So they have level E, level M, level D, and a level A. And each one has a packet of blueprints, okay? And then so you got 5 for math, you got 5 for reading, and then you got 5 for language. So add them all up, that's a total of 15 blueprints. And each blueprint is a lot. So I'm like, what are we looking at here? So we wanted to summarize all the blueprints for you and create like just one single spread of documents so that you don't have to keep flipping pages and, who wants all this clutter, right? So what we did is we took all of the standard descriptions, okay, and then we aligned them to the existing wording and to the existing cells of the matrix, and then we color coded it according to low, medium, and high emphasis. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the we took the number and operations in base 10 domain and we crossed it with the matrix levels 1 and 2 under domain 1, number operations in base 10. And as you can see, it's every cell is colored. So it's kind of like everything is covered by the matrix. Okay, so if you follow along with the matrix and use the matrix solely, then you're rest assured, hey, I'm covering all of the standards that are covered in the TABE blueprint. As you can see, if you notice, there are varying degrees of darkness. Okay, so you got very, very, very light orange if you're looking at domain 1, very, very light orange, and then it goes slightly darker, and then really dark orange if you're looking at the big matrix. That denotes the emphasis level, and as you go darker, it's higher. The darker you go, the higher the emphasis level. So as you can see here, this, and if we're looking at, let's say, domain 3, measurement and data, the lightest shade of blue or baby blue or aquamarine, whatever you call that color, is going to be your low emphasis standards, okay, or objectives. And then slightly darker than that will be your medium level emphasis. And then the darkest shade of blue in domain 3 will be your high level emphasis. So really you're looking for those dark areas of your matrix to see where you're converging to in terms of mathematics content. So light, medium, heavy, or light, medium to dark, okay? Light colors or light shades are low, medium shades are medium emphasis, and dark or high or deep shades are going to be your high emphasis. Okay, so hopefully everybody's with me so far, and I'm gonna continue on and answer the questions after this. So let me show you that I created 5 different overlays, okay, because not everybody teach multi-level classes. So let's say, for example, hey, I only teach level 1 ABE or level 1 and 2, okay? Well, this is your level 1 and 2, which corresponds to your TABE level L and E blueprints. And you can see there's a matrix there's an overlay, there's a TABE overlay that only colors that side. So you're only focusing on levels 1 and 2 of the matrix, and then the rest is plain colored white. So you're still seeing the entire matrix, but the one that's clearly differentiated for you in terms of color and emphasis is really levels 1 and 2. We also created the same version for level M. As you can see in here, level M test pretty much will cover your NRS level 3 standards. So, okay, well, as you can see, NRS level 1 and 2 are now grayed out, or regular plain white or gray in this case, and then your level 4 is also grayed out, and then you have your NRS level 3 here. And as you can see here, again, and I know some of you are going to be really paying attention to this slide, you see a color down here at NRS level 4 in ratios, proportion, and relationships that's colored out that's colored in together with the rest of the colored cells of domains of the NRS level 3, as you can see. So it's just a matter of, I think that this objective is already tested at the level M test, even though it's technically categorized as level 4 in the NRS system. And it's a matter of the question being asked. So it's, now we're going to get into the weeds of the test development and things like that. It could be that the beginning levels or the emerging concepts of this particular NRS level 4 standard is already being assessed. So, we have to really look deeply into that, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit on that one particular standard That's kind of like an outlier in this case. But again, just like I said, we've created the matrix prior to incorporating the TABE 11 and 12 blueprint. So that's why this is happening. And you're gonna see the opposite side of that on the level D. So if you're looking at the level D, most of your objectives or standards are gonna be covered in NRS level 4, but look at this color distribution. You have some outliers that are still back down in level 3. So it's really, again, just like I said, that's why this matrix is, this overlay is really important, because if you're going to narrow down your view and just strictly focus on NRS level 4, but your goal is really to achieve maximum performance on the TABE 11 and 12, you have to look at the blueprints. You have to look at the TABE overlay so that you're not missing out on those key components that are still assessed or that's crossing levels of the TABE test, if you get what I'm saying. So, and I'm going to answer some of your questions now if you have. So I'm going to pause a little bit here, June, you know, for you to check out if you have any questions.
There's a question here. Do you know why 11 and 12 did not have a survey like 9 and 10? Do you know the answer to that?
No, I do not have the answer to that.
Okay, we'll respond
so that's
to that.
Something that, yes. And I have a slight idea, but I don't want to say it. So it's better to get it directly from either the state or
that's where I'm going to redirect. And there's some about user passwords and all that. I'll answer those to you directly after the webinar.
Yes, so for those technical questions with regards to your portal, June will reply, or Joseph, our you know, technical specialist, will respond to you directly with those, or even Tammy will respond to you those after this webinar.
Or the department, yeah.
Or the department, yes. Okay, right. Moving on. So, oh, and by the way, so let me just go ahead and show you that before we move on. So this is what you're gonna get when you are, this is what you're gonna get when you download the actual matrix from your participant resources. So yeah, oh, okay, well, I can't read that, Ron, that's too small. Of course, you can always click this plus arrow and zoom in to a particular area. And then you can zoom in as much as you want. I am very comfortable with 200% magnification, okay? And as you may know, this is in PDF. And if you're using Acrobat Reader DC, Acrobat Reader DC allows you to type in and add more information. You know, so maybe you want to add in your, let's say you want to add in a text box right here. It will allow you to type information directly and edit or modify or add on to your existing matrix. It also allows you to highlight, or you can, if you don't want text box, you just want to put text directly. There you go. You have text right there. There's even a pencil tool. So if you're using a touch screen, you can circle certain items for you, or you can X out certain items that you've already covered with your students. So there's a lot of things you can do with Acrobat Reader. You can also even add sticky notes, you know, change the shading, add shapes, draw. You can do many, many things. That's why the electronic copy is the best. But just like I said, not everybody has the luxury of a computer. So this one that you're looking at right now, and let me just undo everything that I did so that you're looking at the...
And Ron, as you're undoing that, I want to let you know that DRC is online with us right now, and she just sent me a chat. It's Christine Kurt. So keep sending me those questions, because what I'm going to do is copy the Florida Department of Education and Christine. We'll compile all those questions and send them to her, and then you'll get the actual email back from her with all of the answers.
That is fantastic, June. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is slightly different from, this is gonna be the version of the matrix that's all. So meaning it does not differentiate across levels. So you have everything shaded from levels 1 to 4. This is covering TABE levels L, E, M, and D. Okay. Okay. So why only up to D? Why not A? Remember, our level A test is really our pre-GED program. So really, it's not really part of the matrix itself in its design. What you're gonna see is that once we've developed the GED matrix, we will extend the overlay, where we'll extend the TABE overlay to the GED matrix, so you can still see that continuum up to level A. So this one shows all of the TABE levels, and then you can also individually download level specific overlays. For example, like this one is level D, this one is level L and E, and this one is level M. So you've got multiple versions, okay, depending on what you like. Some people like to see all of them and they have multi-level classes. They want to see all of it and tackle all of the levels, you know, seeing it like that. Some would like to just narrow down to their particular level. So we've, you know, no matter what type of class you teach in terms of makeup, there is a TABE overlay for you. Okay, so just so you know, hopefully you like that. And then in addition to that, while we're here, we've also developed a TABE overlay webinar workbook. So there are some of us that would like to extend this webinar to their own PLC meetings and to their own sites that do not have internet access or cannot join us today. And also even for you that are tuned in now, if you want more practice and really internalize the information that you've received today, we have developed for you a workbook. This workbook gives you, you know, some reflection questions, gives you some ideas for planning. It gives you, you know, the same information and content in a different format that is covered here. So you can see it's very similar to our slide. Lots of reflection questions. You have a smaller version, an 8.5 by 11 version of the matrix. You've got the crosswalks. There's certain activities that I created here that allows you to become more familiarized with the matrix. So we've spent a lot of time going over and creating this workbook for you so that you can really just take into heart what we're covering today and really become an expert to this for any purpose. You may be a resource teacher, or you could be a resource coordinator at your site that you wanted to transfer this learning back to your teachers. So you've got four versions of the overlay. You've got the all version, you've got the level L and E, we've got the level M, and you got the level D. So any other questions, June, before we go into the applications? Okay, without any questions, I'm gonna just move on. Yeah, again, a lot of the applications of the TABE overlay is the same as the applications that we've covered for the ABE math curriculum matrix originally. It just extends its use and it specifies its use more geared towards achieving and designing instruction and designing lesson and developing pacing and developing curriculum that is more targeted towards the TABE 11 and 12. It's a centralized assessment resource. I'm just going to show you some examples here. You can use it as a pacing guide, just like what I did here. You can type directly into the document. Week 1, this is what I'm going to cover. Week 2, this is going to week 3, and so on and so forth. or you can use it as a you know, like a guide for what resources to direct your class to. You know, it could be pages of the original textbook that you're using that has been realigned. So you use the correlations from the publisher that you've received, and then you can annotate the TABE overlay with what pages in the textbook they come with, and you can do it in chunks like I'm doing, or you can do it cell by cell if you have more time. You can add in all the resources that say, oh, okay, I like this section. There is like an online software that we use to develop this particular region of the matrix. Let me put that in there so I know, okay, I'm using this resource for that particular region of the matrix or the TABE overlay. I have a really good if-day lesson plan out there that correlates with this. Let me write it down so it reminds me that I can use that. Or a video out there that goes along with that particular one. Our goal is to really align all of the resources that we have, and it's coming down the line, but we're still, you know, working through it, is to really organize everything on the if-day website that aligns to each individual cell of the matrix, which is really what we're going to do. That's kind of like our overall goal. I already went over how to make edits to your to make edits or annotate using Acrobat Reader. You can download Acrobat Reader. There's a free version of that. I don't know how much of the free version will allow you to annotate. So just to know, something for you to know. And really when I annotate, I use the comment section to add those things there, the comment section, and then you have those toolbars to use at the top. You can add text boxes, highlight, and things like that. So I already went over downloading the original matrix, but I'm gonna show you how to download really quick, how to download the TABE the TABE overlay. So let's go back to the home screen. Again, you're gonna go to ABE, Adult Basic Education, and then go into webinars. And under webinar, you're gonna look for today's webinar, Understanding and Applying TABE 11 and 12 Overlay. You click on that, and voila. These are your TABE overlays under the presentation documents. You have the PDF version of the PowerPoint slides. You have the workbook to use in your own professional development and your PLC meetings. And then you've got the handouts, each individual TABE overlay that we've developed, level-specific TABE overlay, or all of the TABE levels overlaid into the ABE Math Curriculum Matrix. So that's there for you to download. Just click it and save it into your computer. And then now we're towards the end of our webinar, and just wanted to show you that there are several different sheets that you can, print this one. What we designed this matrix for, the PDF version that you're downloading, is actually prints best on an 11 by 17 sheet. An 11 by 17 sheet is really it's twice as large as your regular printer paper, which is an 8.5 by 11. If you want to know what it's called tabloid, or you can tell them, go to Office Depot or Staples and tell them, I need an 11 by 17 sheet of paper. They also sell this in vellum sheets. So if you want to purchase those vellum, those are semi-transparent sheets of paper, so that you can actually overlay this on your original matrix. Or you can purchase cardstock that's a little bit thicker, that's good for you to laminate and use over and over. And then again, the 11 by 17 sheet will, and depending on your printer, it usually feeds into your large copy machines, okay? And it also feeds into certain printers depending on the size of your color printer. I have a color printer that loads an 11 by 17 sheet, so I'm one of the lucky ones to have one of those pieces of equipment, one of my luxuries, one of my perks. But you may or may not have that one, but just a piece of information for you that you can make black and white copies of that. And if you're going to take black and white copies, I'd really suggest to the color contrast to be at the lightest level if possible, so that the colors are not masking the print or the text. And again, exciting things to come that we are talking about is really incorporating all of the webinars, the grab and go videos, the workbooks, the study guides, all into one for each cell, and that's really coming soon. And another thing that's coming soon is just like what I mentioned to you, that GED, our GED Matrix is coming out before we wrap up this school year to prepare you for the next opening of the next school year. You will have your GED Matrix, and that is a promise. So keep tuning into your EDM or your email for your IPDAY updates, or keep visiting the IPDAY website for future updates with regards to the GED Matrix. Study guides in mathematics are being developed for a lot of those high occurring or high level emphasis cells. IPDAY is creating study guides for each one of those. So we are releasing that also towards the end of this school year. Hopefully by around May-ish, we'll have that ready for you. Those study guides, and we'll be doing several webinars on the study guides. We're going to do another webinar on the GED Matrix towards the end of the school year as well. So please stay tuned in. I hope you like the idea of the study guides. We're also creating a manipulatives overlay. So this has already been developed, but it's not put together into a matrix format. So this is also coming up before the end of the school year. So we're creating an overlay where you can see what manipulatives can you use for each particular cell of the matrix, and really comes really handy when you're like, oh, I want to shelf this geoboards, but I don't know how long I'm going to need to cover this. So really, you're going to be able to pace out the use of that resources and really remind you that, hey, you need to use the geoboard on this. So you have that extra layer of visual learning. So that is coming up also before the end of the school year. So lots of things, but just like I said, keep tuned into the IPDAY. We are constantly updating material for you, because IPDAY only wants the best for you. We want to empower you to do the best that you can be in your classroom. So again, just like I said, I'm going to tune in now to June to give us a little bit of some reminders to close this webinar.
We're right at the end. We're a little bit late, but just the questions that we didn't get to address, they'll be coming to you soon. And yes, there will be a language arts overlay. But right now, if you could just take one more minute, just answer these 3 little questions that are appearing on your screen. Go ahead and give us a response. We really would love to hear from you. While you're doing that, continue to send your questions in. We will redirect them to the proper people, and we will get you the answers that you need. So next, on January 30th, you tune in for the webinar with the Florida Department of Education regarding TABE 11 and 12, some resources. Jane Silveria and Lisa Williams will be conducting that webinar. Okay, the poll is now closed. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for all of your responses, and we're glad that you love these overlays. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.